Two American hostages have been released tonight by Hamas in Gaza. Now, this comes as hundreds more are still being held. Chris Pallone has the very latest from Washington.
Two American hostages in Gaza, a mother and daughter, Judith and Natalie Renan from Evanston, Illinois, have been released by Hamas. Former NBC News correspondent Martin Fletcher confirmed the news that it's his relatives who have been released live during an NBC News special report.
The hostages are now with the Red Cross inside Israel.
The fate of more than 200 other hostages taken by Hamas remains unknown. Earlier, President Biden met with representatives from the European Union amidst the ongoing wars in Israel and Ukraine. The sit-down a day after the president took his plea directly to the American people that U.S. support for those two allies should not waver.
I know these conflicts can seem far away, and it's natural to ask, why does this matter to America?
The president has now formally asked Congress to authorize $105 billion in new aid. More than $61 billion would go to Ukraine to help in its fight against Russia. More than $14 billion would go to Israel. The rest would provide humanitarian assistance around the world, help defend Taiwan, and increase security at the southern border.
Hamas and Putin represent different threats, but they share this in common. They both want to completely annihilate a neighboring democracy.
Trucks full of much-needed humanitarian aid expected to roll today are still sitting at the Egypt-Gaza border. The president says he expects some of it should enter Gaza in the next couple of days. Israel continues to pound Gaza with airstrikes, Hamas claiming an Israeli strike killed more than a dozen people taking shelter at a Greek Orthodox church. All this as Israel builds forces along the border ahead of an anticipated ground offensive 2 weeks after the Hamas surprise assault. Chris Pallone, NBC News, Washington. After last night's presidential Oval Office address, some Republican senators sent a letter to President Biden asking him to remove any aid for Ukraine from a package of aid that goes to Israel. Lately, some Republicans have soured on the idea of sending any more money to Ukraine. In Washington, Chris Pallone, NBC News.